Hello all, welcome back. Today we are going to do a quick session on how do we enable just-in-time access on Azure VM. Before understanding how do we enable the access, let us first try and understand why in the first place we need to enable such an access on Azure VM. If you remember, in our previous videos we have talked in length about what is the need of reducing the exposure of the virtual machines on the public internet. The best way to do is not have a PIP or a public IP assigned to a virtual machine and connect to it via Azure Bastion host or via any private networks by connecting through a VPN connectivity, either an express route or site-to-site connectivity. But in situations where we do not have a private network, neither we have the liberty to use a Bastion host, we are forced in such situations to have a public IP assigned to a VM. The moment we have a public IP assigned to a VM, we have exposed the VM over the public internet. It is prone to brute force password attacks, which means that the attackers, after knowing the public IP of a VM, can do a lot of trial and error, maybe frequently used passwords or using some sort of algorithms to hack into your virtual machine and cause unprecedented damage. So one way to do is to reduce the amount of time you're exposing your virtual machine over the internet by only opening the ports and only allowing the public IP for a specific duration of the time and only for the specific users. And the option which lets us to do this is called just-in-time access. So how does it work? When just-in-time access is enabled on a virtual machine, the Azure Security Center basically locks down the inbound traffic to the virtual machine by creating an NSG rule automatically. This particular NSG rule automatically allows inbound traffic on the selected ports as well as the IP through which the access is being requested. And all of this happens only for a specific duration of the time, which is already decided in the Azure policy. And once the time is over, the Security Center automatically restores the firewall and the NSG rules to their previous states, which means that no more IPs are allowed on any of the ports. There are three ways to enable JIT. One is through Azure Security Center, the other is from the Azure VM configuration page, and the third way is to configure the policy on the VM programmatically through PowerShell, CLI, or language-specific SDKs. So without further ado, let's do a quick demo as to how we can enable JIT access on a VM. Let's open azure.portal.azure.com. Let's go to the virtual machine test win1 on which we want to enable just-in-time access. So this is the configuration page here, and we can enable just-in-time access from the configuration page directly. And if you see here, it applies a default Azure policy that locks down your RDP ports and grants access on demand for a limited period of 3 hours. So this is the fixed time, which is 3 hours. But if you remember on the slide, I've told that another way of doing this enablement is through Azure Security Center. If you go here in the Advanced Cloud Defense options, you can see just-in-time VM access. It says that one of the VMs JIT is configured and it is recommending on one of the VMs. So I can go ahead and here enable JIT on the VMs. These are all the ports that it is recommended, and if you see here, the time range is 3 hours. I can always go ahead and delete any of the rules if I do not want a particular port to be allowed. I can as well as change the amount of time the port is going to be open. So before I click on yes, I want to show you one thing that let's open the virtual machine network security group. Let's go to the same virtual machine and go to the networking options. If you see here, there are basically 5 roles, of which let me remove this particular role just to allow RDP. I'm deleting this rule because I want to show you how I can RDP into a machine only through the JIT access. So let me go ahead here and say save. So the just-in-time VM access configuration has been successfully completed. If you see here configured, it will now show us 2 VMs. Okay. And if you see here, let me refresh this page. If you see here, the number of rules is automatically increased. It has added a particular rule called a JIT rule. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to connect through RDP. Let's first try to download the RDP file anyway without requesting access. In my opinion, this will fail because I haven't requested access and the RDP port is not open. And as expected, we are unable to RDP. So this time, let me request access. And again, let me also keep the networking NSG rules open so that I can show you the moment I request access how automatically another rule gets added. So I'm going to request access. Please note that my user is part of the RBAC or role-based access, and hence Security Center is going to automatically approve my request because it's coming from a valid user. So the access is approved on port 3389 from the selected IPs. You can now connect. So let me now download the RDP file. And before I connect, I just want to show you here that for this particular destination, now it is allowed. If you see here, it's now prompting me for credentials. And this way, I can get connected to my virtual machine and keep the connection open for 3 hours. After the time duration is up, automatically this particular NSG rule gets deleted and I can no more have access to the virtual machine. If you go back to the security center, and you can always view the activity log about understanding what are the different activities or the operations happen. So it has logged that that the JIT network access policy was initiated and the status is succeeded. I can also request access directly from here, and for that I have to basically select the port for which I want to access and click on open ports. So this also initiates the JIT network access request. And if I have to basically delete the policy, I, I have to click on these ellipses and click on remove. So are you sure you want to remove this VM from being JIT protected? Yes. So again, it has gone back to recommended. And if you see here, the networking options, the NSG rules have also been removed. So that's it for today. Please stay tuned for the next videos. And as usual, if you have any feedback for the videos that I'm making, please do leave it in your comments. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.